The Dershow.
I'm really happy that Biden pardoned his son for a lot of reasons. First, I know Joe Biden. I don't know his son. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He put his son who's was a deeply damaged man, put his interest over his legacy. That's commendable. It's a good thing to do. His big mistake is he should never have said during the election, I'm not going to pardon him. He never should have said that because he did that, for obvious political reasons. It helped when he was running, it helped him. And when Kamala Harris was running, it helped her. So it was a political decision to say, I'm not going to pardon him. He probably knew he was going to pardon him unless Kamala Harris unless Kamala Harris won the election. If he won the election, he would have pardoned him probably after he got elected. But he wasn't going to say that while there were voters out there. So he waited until it was all over. That was his big mistake. Was not in doing the pardon. His big mistake was in saying he was not going to do the pardon, when I think he knew full well he was not going to let his son go to jail. Would you? I mean, if you have a kid who's really misbehaving and, a few weeks in jail might set him straight, I can see a parent saying that's okay, but not when you believe, and Biden was right to believe that the only reason he was prosecuted is because he was the son of the president. The president was very controversial, and there were all kind of Ukrainian issues circulating. And so, again, if he were not Hunter Biden, he would not have been prosecuted. That's enough. That's a good reason for giving a pardon. Now, of course, President Biden has to spend the next 7 weeks giving other pardons. He has to go through, and he has to have his staff go through and see if there are other cases like this. If there are cases where people have been prosecuted, not because necessarily of what they did, but because of who they were and who they alienated and what political party and who their parents are and all of that. And he has to give pardons to them or commutations to them. This can't be a one-off. This can't be just, well, he's my son, I'm going to do it. You're the president of the United States. You're, as he likes to say over and over again, I'm the president of all the people and no one's above the law. Well, Hunter Biden was above the law and below the law. He was below the law when he got prosecuted because his name was Biden, and he was above the law when he got pardoned because his name was Biden. And so now I think it's really a good thing for Biden to do and to go through cases involving Democrats, Republicans, who were prosecuted because of who they were. I don't know who that includes. Does it include Rudy Giuliani? Somebody has to look into it and see. Does it include members of Biden's, Trump staff who were prosecuted? Trump will probably pardon them. It would be much better, actually, if Biden pardoned them. Wouldn't that be good? If Biden was the one who pardoned the January 6 people. Look, the January 6 people who were protesting, I'm not talking about the violent ones. Under Biden's principles, they all deserve a pardon. Why? The Black Lives Matter protesters, who in many ways were worse, did more damage, were not prosecuted. They were allowed free. Bail was raised for them. And they were treated with kid gloves. And so I think that has to become the Biden standard. Biden should look at every January 6 case now and say, if the only reason these people were prosecuted is they were protesting in favor of Trump, if they were protesting in favor of a Democrat, or if they were protesting in favor of somebody who was killed because he was Black by a cop, the Chauvin case, we're going to apply exactly the same standard. And if somebody wasn't prosecuted because they were protesting the right thing, whereas these guys were protesting the wrong thing, that's not a basis under the First Amendment or under the principles of equality to permit unequal treatment. So what I want President Biden to do now is have a group of people in the White House go through every January 6 case and compare it to every Black Lives Matter case and other protests from the left, and Antifa cases and other cases like that. And unless you can find dispositive, compelling differences due to the January 6th protesters, what was done to the Black Lives Matter protesters, in other words, let them go free. That has to be the rule. Otherwise, it's selective justice. Otherwise, Biden is guilty of exactly what he accused his own Justice Department of being guilty of.